Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's Wednesday Wisdom guest. But first, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I trust them. I want you to trust them. So take the next couple of minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to K-12 Sports Tech for being the named sponsor for Wednesday Wisdom. K-12 Sports Tech helps athletic directors and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting services. Athletic directors are also invited to join the K-12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. For more information or to get signed up, just go to k12sportstech.com. That's k12sportstech.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or to display your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look today. We also want to thank our good friends at Gipper. You know, your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you will use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, results, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Well, Home Campus does all of these things and a lot more, does them better, and it does them faster. Go to homecampus.com to find out more. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank our good friends at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but most of the time, it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data in your hands is incredibly valuable, especially when you're talking to a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. We want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can take a look at their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We'd also like to thank our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our kids loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, and it was a great experience. It was affordable, just 20 months, totally online, and the Ohio program also allowed him to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses while he's doing his master's at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that demonstration today. And we want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We've got one of our longtime members of the Wednesday Wisdom team back. Regular listeners will recognize the name Jennifer Garrett. Jen has an incredible background and I guess current front ground, however you pronounce that. She is, let's see, she is a best-selling author more than once. She's the host of her own very popular podcast, Move the Ball. She works with professional athletes, NFL players. She's a leadership executive coach. She's an Army lawyer, and she has seven college degrees. Okay, probably one of the most accomplished women and persons that you will ever meet. Jennifer Garrett, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom.
Hey, Jake, it's so good to be back for yet another amazing discussion that we're going to have.
Well, you and I were talking before. This is a very busy time for our listeners. We're recording on August 21st, so it's going to be very timely when you're listening to it. We've got kids are going back to school. Coaches and ADs some are already experiencing games. But what do you have for our listeners this week on Wednesday Wisdom?
Yes, I've been thinking a lot about every time that I get ready for doing these. As we know, preparation is key, right? So I think through what is it that I want to talk about on today's episode. And it's not like I plan it that far in advance, but as the days are leading up to today, I start thinking about, okay, what kind of topics do I want to talk about? But I also want it to be authentic and kind of, what's something that's kind of at the forefront of my mind. And as you know, Jake, I recently launched a new newsletter on LinkedIn. We've talked about LinkedIn on the show before and the importance of it. And the newsletter is called The Executive Edge. The focus of it is really producing weekly articles that are like a quick 3 to 5 minute read on topics that will help people to get that quote unquote executive edge and differentiate themselves in their careers or looking to continue to navigate and elevate. And so as I was thinking through what I wanted to talk about today, I was thinking about those articles that I've already published through the newsletter. And there's two topics that I think are really important that I want to touch on. The first one is networking, and secondly, personal branding. And there is an intersection between the two. There are some, they're exclusive in some ways, but also they do intersect. And I think they're important. A lot of people know about the importance of networking. I think less people consider the importance of having a personal brand, even though branding's been a topic that's been discussed quite a bit over the last few years. I think people still discount the importance of it. And so I wanted to just touch on it today, because as you're looking to move the ball, as I like to say, it's really about how are you differentiating yourself and your brand from others, other ADs, other coaches out there. How are you building that network so that people know of you? It's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you too, which is more important, I would argue, than just who's in your circle. Meaning, like, are you getting the visibility, the exposure? Are you developing yourself as an expert in your field so that people can present opportunities to you? Because we're always looking at, okay, how can I move that ball a little bit forward in my career? Whether you just started a role or not, you're going to look to move on at some point. So you need to start thinking about, what is my brand? How am I holding myself out there? And then in addition to that, am I prioritizing the need to network with the right people? But also, it's not just about you putting yourself out and sending connection requests on LinkedIn or on Instagram or one of these social platforms or going to a conference. You also want to develop your brand as an expert, being seen as credible in your field, right? So that other people will approach you. And so I think it's very important, and a challenge that I would issue to people today is to think about your brand. When people think of you, what do you want them to know you for? What do they want to view you as being the expert of or expert in? And then you really need to start doing things as well as putting content out there that positions you as an expert in that particular space. As an example, if you're a wide receivers coach, right? Well, you need to then start putting content out about the work you're doing, maybe developing your players or just things that you find relevant in that niche, if you will, so that you can show to the world in the digital space in person that, hey, this is my lane. I know it. I excel at it. And so this is why you should consider me as you have an opening in your organization as just an example. So I think it's important, like we're always thinking about the organization that we work for. And, you know, in the sports space, if you're an AD, you're looking at promoting your brand. If you're a coach, same thing, the organization's brand, I mean, and looking at recruiting and things like that. But what about you? You need to spend time focusing on, you know, what do I want people to think about me when it comes to I am an expert at something. So I think that's important. And then something else that I really wanted to share today is this concept of pie. So when it comes to, and I do a lot of talking, as you know, Jake, in the corporate space, and something that I share with audiences there is when it comes to career advancement, think of this concept of pie. I didn't create it. Gentleman by the name of Dr. Harvey Coleman was the creator of it. I learned about it when I was working at General Electric. And basically, pie has three elements to it: performance, image, and exposure. And what he says is performance is only a small sliver of that pie. So you have to perform, but that's the baseline. That's not the differentiator, right? If you're doing your job, that's great, but that's not why the opportunities are going to come. You have to be doing two other things, which ties to the image and the exposure. So the image piece is all about your brand. What do you want to be known for? And then also, are you doing things to keep yourself ahead of the curve when it comes to that lane of expertise? So are you going to conferences? Are you reading articles? Are you getting certifications or just doing professional development training in your space so that you can continue to be relevant and on top of the latest trends, being in the know, being that go-to person that people think of when it comes to whatever subject you're in? So the image piece is important. And then the exposure. So image is 30% of that pie. Exposure is 60%. And so basically, I mentioned earlier, it's about who knows you, right? So who knows you is the biggest part of this model. And it's important because that's where opportunities also come. It's not just you seeking out things, but it's people coming to you because they value your expertise, which you, if you do it right, you've got a strong, powerful brand. So they know of your expertise, and then they will want to reach out, want to network, connect. And those opportunities aren't going to come day one, right? Oh, I see this person here is an expert in something. Let me just go, you know, I want to hire them. No, but you're starting the foundation, right, for people to follow you and gain more. You're gaining their credibility, their trust, and someone that might be a person of value to their organization. But it starts with that exposure piece. So another challenge I would throw out there is, how are people learning of you and your brand? Are you putting out social content? I mean, the digital space is just so big today compared to a decade ago. So if you're not leveraging that, then I would encourage you to do that. And that doesn't mean you have to put out content every single day, but commit to some consistent schedule of, I'm going to either share relevant articles by somebody else, I'm going to create my own content. I would argue you should do a mixture of both, right? But you need to start putting yourself out there. And I just thought of this. I was talking with a guy, I was on his podcast a couple of years ago. It was as I was writing my second book, Dominate the Game. And he said something to me. He said, if you don't put yourself out there, you can never be found. Now, he was talking about that in the sense of, you don't put your stuff on YouTube, people can't find you there. Okay, fine. But when he said it, I was like, well, let's look at that broader. Like, if you're not putting yourself out in the relevant spaces that you should be playing, then people cannot find you because you're not there, right? So again, you need to start putting content out there to showcase your expertise. It's one thing to develop it, but then you got to let people know that you have it. Right. So I think that's important. And then when it comes to the networking side, one thing I think is important, it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of the network that you have and the relationships that you have. Because just because I see people write on LinkedIn, I have 50 or 5,000 connections. Okay, that's great. But what does that mean? Are those quality connections? So I would suggest that instead of just trying to continue to get that metric, which is a meaningless metric, up, I would focus on let me connect with the right people that are really going to be beneficial to be in my network. And when I say beneficial, that doesn't necessarily mean there's someone that's going to help you get a job per se, and not today. They could at some point, but you really want to connect with people that have the expertise, that have the experience, that have skills that you think would be beneficial to learn from, for one, and two, also people that you can add value to, because that's what you want to be doing, is adding value to other people. And people remember that when you're serving others and bringing wisdom to them, sharing experience, whatever it is. If you bring value to others, then that will come back around and present itself in opportunities for you. But I just find so many people miss this. They think about, well, let me just see who can help me today, and that's what it's about. And then it's a numbers game, and it's not a numbers game. It's not a sales thing. And I think so many people get that wrong. And I see it all the time. People reach out to connect with me and I see their messages, and like, it's clear that you're just trying to make a sale, or, it's not about the genuine and authentic relationship, which is what networking needs to be about.
Well, you probably saw me scribbling down all kinds of notes. Everything you just shared is a one-to-one application for athletic directors and coaches. And not everyone is on the hunt for that next job or a new job, but assuming it's going to happen sometime in your career, you're absolutely right. Having the network is part of it, but also having something to share, having an accomplishment. I'll get emails or I'll see posts from, let's say, recent college graduates or first, second year coaches, and they're saying, I want to become an AD. How do I become an AD? Like, it's going to happen this year. And in very few cases, it's the AD is a later part of your career journey, not something you're going to start with. It certainly can happen, but I shared with you, I tell ADs all the time, the single best thing you can do is build that network. But I love the nuance that you add to that about, making sure it's a quality experience for the person you're adding as well as for you. Great stuff.
Yeah, and I think the important thing too, to tie into what you just said about not everyone is looking for a job now. This is the time, if you're not looking for a job, especially, to put some time in. It doesn't have to be a lot of time every week, but start like that way. When you are looking for a job, you have cultivated that network, or sometimes the best opportunities come when you're not looking, because someone knows of you and they're like, oh my gosh, Jake would be perfect for this. Let me call him, right? And Jake, you might not be looking for something, but someone might reach out to you and be like, oh, you know what? That might be one that I'd consider, right? Or, oh my gosh, that's an amazing job. Yes, I love it, right? So it's not just about when you're ready to look for work. It's about building this brand, being consistent with it over time, building that network, once again, focusing on the quality of relationships. And then all of those things will come together when the time is right and the opportunities will present themselves for you.
Yeah. And again, that brand that you talk of, that's you. That's what's going to cause somebody to, and it happened to me at least twice in my, let's say, my previous career, my main career as a coach and an AD, where I was contacted because of things that I had done at my current job. And now in my chapter 3 as a podcaster and author and I guess consultant, it's all about, that brand that, someone sees, whether I reach out to them directly or, they say, well, hey, who is this guy? Or, somebody said I need to check out Jake Fonchier. I'm sure that happens to you a ton. It's that brand. It's what you've accomplished. I just love that. I want to say twist, but the the view that you take and you're encouraging us to take to build that brand. Jen, you have so many great resources for leaders, for executives, and for athletic directors and coaches. I'm going to let you start where you want to, but let's talk about the podcast, the books, the website, the newsletter. If somebody wants to find out more And listeners, you've got a tremendous resource here. How do they find out more from Jen Garrett?
Yeah, so I would say it starts with going to my website, which is getinsidethehuddle.com. Obviously, it has to have a sports reference to it there. And there you can learn more about me and kind of the stuff that I do from a services standpoint. You could also view my podcast there. It's called Move the Ball. The podcast is on all the major podcast platforms too. So wherever you listen, it's there. It's only audio, so it's not on YouTube. Not yet. I got to work on that. But there's all kinds of conversations with pro athletes, with Fortune 500 senior leaders, with front office executives, talking about business, high performance. How do you separate yourself when it comes to elevating and being successful in your respective field? So I would encourage you to check that out. I mentioned the newsletter. It's called The Executive Edge. It is on LinkedIn. It is once a week, every Tuesday. There's an article that's, again, just a quick 3 to 5 minute read on topics that are really designed to help you kind of separate yourself and get to where you want to go in your career. We talked about networking. We talked about branding. There was also recently an article tied to how to stay competitive in today's competitive job market. So I would encourage you to check those out. You can just search Executive Edge on there, or you can go to my profile, Jennifer Garrett, just hashtag move the ball. You'll find me that way. One thing that I would like to mention that I don't know if you know about, Jake, is I recently, obviously, Jake, I have my first book was called Move the Ball. And so I recently created a Move the Ball digital workbook, which is really designed to help people with goal setting and executing on those goals, holding them accountable, getting accountability partners, celebrating those victories. So it's really for people that need some help kind of just getting organized so they can be more productive. We're all busy, got a lot going on. School just started. I have 5 kids. Some of them are older, but still have kids at home. And so I understand that hustle and bustle and all the rigmarole that we do with trying to navigate our corporate lives or our lives and our kids and school and stuff. But anyway, so it's called Move the Ball, the Ultimate Goal Setting Workbook. It's only a digital product. It's on my website, which is dominateandmove.com. Got lots of websites. And but what it is it's a 44-page workbook that's got all kinds of different prompts to make you kind of think through and drive critical thinking to get you going on your goals. And then there's exercises to kind of keep you on track and keep you motivated on those tough days, things like that. So if you're someone that needs that, or if you know somebody that needs that, it's there. I've gotten great feedback on how comprehensive it is. So, go check it out too. And then lastly, because I know there's a lot and I don't want to push too much here, but the books are on Amazon, also at that dominateandmove.com website. Move the ball and dominate the game.
Well, we're fond of using the toolbox metaphor here on our podcast. So listeners, go to Amazon, get the book, get the digital workbook, and add both of those to your athletic director, coach, or leadership toolbox. Jennifer Garrett, always great to hang out with you. I want to be I want to be in your network. All the different things that you do with professional athletes, Formula One, and everything else. Always great to hang out with you, and all the best with the newsletter and everything else you do.
Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to come on the show, and looking forward to the next time.
Oh, absolutely. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you. And unlike Jennifer, we do upload all of our episodes to the Education Lady Podcast YouTube channel. We do this every week, and just about every day we try to share best practices. So hopefully we'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks for listening. Always a great time with Jennifer Garrett. Make sure you take a look at her website, her books, and all her resources. Also, make sure you visit our sponsors. You've heard me talk about them before. They're all great sponsors. I used them. I think you will enjoy them too. I want to say thanks to Gipper, Huddle. I want to thank Home Campus and Sideline Interactive. I want to thank Snap Raise and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. I want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, Athletic Surveys. We want to thank Ohio University, and we want to thank the named sponsor for all of our Wednesday Wisdom segments, K-12 Sports Tech. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.